I dreamt of a cemetery west of Horon Village. Could an essence lie there? To get there, find a way across the sea. This is Legendary Adventures, a Legend of Zelda playthrough podcast. This week we're traveling to the desert in order to set sail on the high seas. No, really. At the Maku Tree's direction, we know we need to cross the sea in order to reach the next dungeon. This should be enough to send players towards the pirates. That is, if they found them. They aren't that hard to locate. The pirates have set up in Subrosia's cemetery. We can reach it by taking a portal to Subrosia in Horon Village just south of the fountain. The pirates are a crew of skeletons who we first saw trapped inside the Sea of Storms in Labrynna and Oracle of Ages. The pirate captain says they will not leave Subrosia until his missing bell is found. If we speak to the captain at this point in the game, he will recognize that Link is a competent adventurer and order him to find the bell. The captain did not give this order when I visited him prior to this point in the game. He will only give it after the ancient ruins are completed. If you haven't already, you'll also need to visit the second floor of the pirate house and speak to a forgetful pirate there. There's a row of dressers on the northern wall. The forgetful pirate will open and close the drawers on the dressers in a particular pattern. This pattern is the code to entering the desert where the captain's bell is hidden. I had noted that pattern on a previous visit. We take the east exit and then immediately head south through a hollow log to reach the eastern shore. Queen Ambi is now standing on the shore. She stands watching the waves, recalling her lost love, the seafaring man who she was hoping to lead home by building her black tower. She dismisses Link as a child who would not understand her feelings. Traveling east, we find a lone pirate standing in front of a gate with 4 large skull-shaped buttons on the front. When we speak to him after being ordered by the captain to find the bell, he leaves. This allows us to push the buttons on the gate in the same order that we saw the pirate open and close the dresser drawers. The gate opens, and we enter the Samasa desert. The desert is full of sinkholes. Some of these holes hold hidden caves, but not all of them. We first saw this concept in Link's Awakening, but there was only one sinkhole there. Really, this entire desert section can be viewed as sort of an expansion of the desert in Link's Awakening. There's just no mini-boss fight here. The pirate ship is submerged in the sand on the south-central end of the desert. We walk inside the ship to find the ghost of a pirate. An already dead pirate is now a ghost. This raises some questions, but what he says next raises even more questions. Apparently he died in a sandstorm even though he was already dead. And apparently he can't move on to the afterlife before finding the bell. He tells us his head is rolling around somewhere in the desert. An oasis sits in the northeastern corner of the desert. We find the pirate's head here. He asks us to pick him up and says that he will tell us where he thinks the bell is. I understand that the location of the bell shifts with each playthrough of the game. We pick the skull up with the power bracelet and carry it around the desert. When we're close to the correct sinkhole, the skull's teeth will chatter. For me, it was a sinkhole in the northwestern part of the desert. We fall down the sinkhole and find the bell, but it's rusted. The twice-dead pirate moves on to the afterlife. We return to the captain. He rejects the bell because it's rusted. We need to get it polished. There is a master smith in Subrosia. The smithy is located 3 screens south and 2 screens west of the point where we entered Subrosia for the very first time. The smithy will take jobs that interest him, and he is interested in the bell. We are given 2 dialogue options for asking the smith to complete the job. We need to select the least polite of the 2 options, and just tell him to do it. We return the bell to the captain. He's pleased with its condition now and says they will return to sea. When, right at that very moment, Queen Ambi walks in through the door. The captain is her long-lost love. She says he appears thinner than he did before. Did she know him in life? Has she always known him as a skeleton? More questions. They both express disbelief in meeting again. The reunion does not last long. The captain insists that he is a seafaring man and can only be happy at sea. Ambi understands and lets him go. She says she will always be his port of call, waiting for his return. Link and the pirates board the ship and set sail through the sand, through the desert, to the sea. More questions. Once actually on the water, the pirates all get seasick. One after another moves below deck. One of the pirates states that they haven't sailed since they died. There's even more questions now, because they seemed pretty dead when we saw them sailing on the Sea of Storms 400 years ago. The captain at first berates his crew for their sickness, but then takes sick himself. They dock the ship west of Horon. The captain says that they will rest there until they regain their sea legs. Just north of the pirate ship is a house. We must pass through it in order to reach a tree stump in order to change the season to summer to scale a cliff. The graveyard is at the top of the cliff. Inside the house is a friendly ghost. It says it used to work in the library in Labrina a long time ago, and it gives us a secret. Switching games, we travel to the library in Labrina. The ghost hinted that it worked in the library long ago, and that its story is very old, which should direct us to the past. And wouldn't you know it, the one person we're supposed to share this secret with is the old man at the back of the library, who can only be reached by following an invisible path. I found this frustrating the first time around, and it was frustrating the second time around. It took me multiple tries to make it across this path once again, but eventually I reached the old man, and I shared the ghost's secret. The old man tells us that secret is intended only for the library. He gives us an upgraded shield as a bribe to keep our silence. We also get the secret to upgrade the shield in Labrina. I was given a mirror shield in my Oracle of Ages game because I'd already found the upgraded iron shield. When I cashed the secret in Holodrum, I got an iron shield. The secret is not for a specific item, but for an upgrade of your equipment one level. If we want to get the mirror shield in Oracle of Seasons, which I did not do, I only found this out after the fact, we have to get the hard ore refined at the Subrosian Smithy. Back to the seaside, we can change the season to summer, climb the cliff to the graveyard, and descend into the dungeon. The music has an edge of creepiness to it. The melody steps up before stepping back down and fading out into echoing notes. But a driving bass line and drums give it an energetic quality, especially when it moves into the B section of the piece. This is also one of the longest dungeon themes in the game. It lasts about 43 seconds before looping back to the start. The dungeon spans 3 floors. Each floor is shaped like a skull, and each skull's shape is different. The first floor gives the impression of a thin, possibly decaying skull. It could be interpreted in a number of ways, either with a closed mouth with a small lower jaw and chin, or perhaps a skull with a single tooth. The second floor is squat in appearance. It features a distinct bottom jaw separated from the top jaw. The bottom jaw is the ultimate goal of the dungeon. It contains the boss door and the essence. The third floor is a long skull with no bottom jaw. It is the only of the skulls to feature a nose socket, and the nose is sizable, spanning 2 empty spaces on the map. This dungeon requires you to keep a solid mental map in your head in order to navigate it. It's a horror or death-themed dungeon, naturally considering its location. There are 2 ghosts inside which curse certain rooms with a curse of darkness. When in the cursed room, torches begin to extinguish. If we're in the room when all the torches go out, we are transported back to the dungeon entrance. We must find the ghosts' resting places and defeat them in order to lift the curses on those rooms. Otherwise, we will not be able to advance through the dungeon. We find the first of these cursed rooms on the top floor right in the center. A room right between the eyes of the skull holds 2 torches and a tablet, or perhaps a gravestone. We need to light these torches to reveal the ghost. The tablet and torches are located on a raised area, so we need to find our way up. This involves quickly passing through the cursed room to safety. The exit we can easily reach and are intended to reach is on the right. There is a bombable wall on the left, and I stubbornly tried over and over again to bomb the wall. I was eventually successful and was awarded the compass. But honestly, you're just better off waiting until you've cleared the curse. In the room to the right, we defeat Wizrobes for a key. Then we backtrack through a locked door under the right eye to access the raised area, which we can follow back to the tablet. After lighting the torches, a ghost armed with a sword appears. It attacks us. After we defeat it, the curse is broken, and we can travel through the cursed room freely. With the curse lifted, we can head down to the middle floor. The room above the left eye holds a trampoline which we need to position just right in order to bounce up a floor and step on a floor switch in order to reveal a key. We reach the room between the two eyes of the middle floor by pushing a non-living Armo statue onto a switch. There are 8 Armo statues in the room. Which statue we push changes each time we enter the room. We have to figure out which one it is and defeat any living ones we come across along the way. Between the eyes, we can take a set of stairs to the bottom floor. We ride a fast-moving platform and use the magnetic glove to advance. Above the left eye on the bottom floor, we use floor switches to solve a puzzle involving sliding Armo statues. We need to press the 4 switches to slide the statues into a square formation with an empty center. Once we do, a key falls into that empty space. A path leading to the rooms above the right eye of the bottom floor is inaccessible. It's due to a large hole, but we note it for later. Heading back up to the middle floor, we proceed south through a locked door. A trampoline is located in the center of a square of blocks. The blocks on the right and the left sides of the square can be pushed, and we push those blocks on each side to open a gaps in order to push the trampoline out of the square to the left, and we place it kitty-corner to a torch on the upper left in order to jump up a floor and claim the map. A room below the left eye of the middle floor is under a curse of darkness. The ghost causing that curse is in the room below the right eye. We use the Pegasus seeds and Ember seeds together to light 4 torches revealing the ghost. This one holds a lantern. We defeat the ghost in order to break the curse and advance through the cursed room to the bottom floor. On the bottom floor, we come across an unusual puzzle, or at least it strikes me as one. We have to defeat all the dark nuts in a room to extend a bridge. The problem is there's a gap too large for us to cross, and at least 2 dark nuts are on either side of that gap. Our ranged weapons don't work, so how are we supposed to defeat them? I ended up turning to a walkthrough on my very first playthrough of this game, and I remembered the solution this time around. We used the magnetic gloves to pull them into the pit. It's clever, but I didn't know how I was supposed to come up with a solution on my own. I just didn't feel I had the necessary information to come up with that solution. I don't think there's any indication the magnetic glove would work on them. After all, there are specific magnetic enemies, which is why I would never think to try this on my own. Or maybe I just missed some cues that would have helped me solve this. We make further use of the magnetic glove, quick swapping polarity to help us cross a room of rotating discs in order to reach a pair of trampolines. 1 red, 1 blue. The red trampoline bounces us up 2 floors. The blue one bounces us up only a single floor. We use the red to ascend 2 floors, then drop down a hole to reach the middle floor and get Rock's Cape. It's an upgrade to Rock's Feather. With the cape, we can double jump and glide for a short distance. We backtrack and use the cape to leap over a large gap we saw earlier on the bottom floor. We then use a trampoline to move up a level and a steel ball to press a switch and get the key. We return to the room where we pulled the dark nuts with the magnetic gloves and open a key block. We then circle round to the room below the nose and find the mini-boss. In this mini-boss fight, we fight both ghosts from earlier at the same time. There are 4 torches in the room which the ghosts will try to blow out. We need to use Ember seeds to keep the torches lit. If all are extinguished, the Curse of Darkness will return us to the dungeon entrance. And it's a long hike back if we do get returned to the entrance. When both ghosts fall, we are awarded a fairy and a portal to the entrance. The position of this portal really feels like it's too little too late at this point. To the west of the mini-boss room, we find a stair maze. It's much like the one we encountered in the Black Tower in Oracle of Ages. We take the stairs moving between the bottom floor and the middle floor in order to navigate through the maze. We need to get to the northeast side of the bottom floor of the maze. Down this path, we'll find the boss key, but only after we solve a few final puzzles. First, we use the Pegasus seeds together with Rock's Cape to press 3 switches in the correct order. The order is indicated by the number of statues next to each switch. And hey, take a look at the order of those statues. 2, 3, 1, or 23 is number 1, a reference to Ocarina of Time. We use a red trampoline to jump up to the first floor. There are stairs down to the middle floor and a large hole in the middle of the room. On each side of the hole there are crystal switches. An owl statue on the top floor hints that we must make all of the switches blue, except the lower left switch. This opens the door to the room with the boss key. With key in hand, we return to the stair maze and navigate to the lower left corner of the middle floor to reach the boss door. The boss here is Gleeg. This is the second time this boss from Zelda 1 has appeared in the series. As with other returning bosses from that game, it has been reimagined. This Gleeg has 2 heads. We land hits on each head to deal damage. After dealing enough damage, one head will detach and fly around the room. When we knock off both heads, Gleeg's flesh dissolves, revealing its skeleton underneath. But this dragon isn't dead yet. We have to battle the skeleton, which charges across the room and jumps. If we're standing on the floor after Gleeg lands from a jump or rams into the wall, Link will be knocked off his feet. We need to use Rock's Cave in order to stay standing. We land hits with the sword until the skeleton falls. We can then choose to pick up another heart container before moving on to get the next essence. It's the Seed of Life. We're told life begins anew with this essence when birds carry seeds to new lands. After leaving the dungeon, the Maku Tree contacts us. In a case of deja vu, the Maku Tree of Holodrum does not know where the final essence is. It's just like the Maku Tree of Labrynna, which also did not know the location of the final essence. We'll track down that last essence next week. If you want to follow along, please subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you. You are awesome. I'm Paul Riley, and I'll see you next week.